It's 7 o'clock. We will call the meeting of the Gloucester City Council for Tuesday, November 26th to order. This meeting is recorded by audio and video in accordance with the state open meeting law. First order of business is a flag salute and moment of silence. And Councilor O'Hara, do you want to lead us in the flag salute? And a moment of silence. I would like to offer this moment of silence to all of our loved ones who have passed away in the last year and won't be physically with us on Thanksgiving, but will be with us in spirit. Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the first order of business.
First order of business is oral communications.
The public shall have the opportunity at every regularly scheduled meeting to be heard under oral communications on matters not appearing on the agenda. Oral communications shall allow any resident who has a request or complaint of any nature relative to city business to appear before the council, state their problem without debate, and the matter shall be referred to the proper agency through the office of the mayor. The resident will be notified within a 2-week period relative to the disposition of same, and a copy shall be forwarded to City Council. Persons speaking under oral communication shall be limited to 3 minutes each. The Council President shall not allow complaints as to individual performance. Is there anyone wishing to address the Council for oral communication? Yes, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
It's Karen Boudreau. I live at 33 Chapel Street in Gloucester. And basically, it's a complaint, but information recently came to me that I'm not sure is totally accurate, but I'll bring it to the council because I was at the council meeting where the vote was taken a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, to have the visitor center, which sounded very good. And then I just happened to be at that meeting, and I happened to be at a meeting when $1.5 million was voted for renovations, and more recently, $2.5 million. But approximately 4 days ago, someone asked me if I knew that that property was not owned by the city. I said, no, I never heard that. I never knew that. And they had a complaint about that. My complaint is I was at meetings that I do not remember one word being said about that property being renovated for owners other than the city. And I think that was unfair if that was so. Now, I went into archives of council meetings to see if I could find that it might have been referenced, but I couldn't get that far back on my system. So that it's a simple complaint, and if I'm wrong, I didn't have much time to come forward with this because it only came to my attention and I didn't know if it was true or false. But I do think that the public should have been made aware that we're putting $2.5 million into someone else's property. Thank you. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to you. Anyone else for oral communications? Madam Clerk, next order of business.
Next order is the confirmation of new appointments.
Confirmation of new appointments, Councilor LeBlanc.
All righty, we got several of them. We're going to start off with the Clean Energy Commission, Samuel Zergabel, and he is fulfilling an unexpired term. Ordinance and Administration voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council appoint Samuel Zergabel to the Clean Energy Commission, term to expire 2/14/21, and I so move. Second. Is Sam here this evening? How you doing, Sam? Nice to see you. Thank you. So he's got a background in mechanical engineering and an involvement with solar energy, so we're looking forward to picking his brain a little bit for some clean energy, so we appreciate it.
Great. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you, Sam. Thanks for agreeing to serve. Any other councilors? Simple majority. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much, Sam. Next order of business. Keep going.
Yes. Council on Aging, Felicia Webb. Ordinance Administration voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council appoint Felicia Webb to the Council on Aging, term to expire 2/14/23, and I so move. Second. Felicia, she works at the Cape Ann Transportation Authority, and I think this will be a good fit because she transports some of the elderly back and forth to the senior center. So I think having her as a liaison type of person in between these two groups would be a good fit. We discussed that. She said there wouldn't be any conflict of interest or anything like that, but I just think that moving forward, her being there to explain certain things on the transportation and the Council on Aging is going to be a good thing.
Thank you, and she not only works there, she's the new executive director of CADA. So thank
Yeah.
you, Felicia. Anybody else? Councilor Gilman?
I just wanted to let Felicia know that I'm excited about this. I am the ex officio member representing the council on the Council on Aging, and I know you have a stellar reputation with those of us on the board, so thank you. Thanks for putting yourself out for a volunteer board.
Anyone else? Okay, all those, Councilor O'Hara.
I just want to point out that, as Council Lundberg had mentioned, that Felicia is in charge of the Cape Ann Transportation Authority. She took over after a long-time manager, Paul Talbot, and Felicia brings a lot of great ideas to Cape Ann Transportation, and I think going forward you'll probably see some changes, so everyone can look over at who's in charge. Thank you, Felicia.
Anybody else? Okay, simple majority. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Felicia.
Next, we have the Dogtown Preservation Commission. We're going to have 3 appointments for this. We'll take them separately because they all have different terms. The first one is Charles Crowley. Ordinance and Administration voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council appoint Charles Crowley to the Dogtown Preservation Committee, term to expire 2/14/21, and I so move.
Moved and seconded.
Charles is not here today. He had another matter to be at. We all know who he is. We all respect his work. He's been on the Dogtown Advisory Commission for years. He stated that he just wanted to finish what he started on the Preservation Commission, and I told him we're going to kidnap him for another 10 years, so hopefully.
Good. All right, thank you. Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next.
Next, we have Richard Quanneman. Ordinance Administration voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council appoint Richard Quaitman, to the Dogtown Preservation Commission, term to expire 2/14/22, and I so move.
Moved and seconded.
Let's see what I have here. So, Mr. Quaitman's background makes him suited for his appointment to the Dogtown Preservation Commission. He's going to be another good fit for this. We've got some really suitable people on this. I'm looking forward to preserving Dogtown and keeping it as natural as possible, with preserving it also, bringing it to back kind of where it was before.
Thank you. Anybody else? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much, Richard. Next.
Next we have Christopher Leahy. Ordinance Administration voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council appoint Richard Leahy to the Dogtown Preservation Commission, term to expire 2/14/23, and I so move.
Moved and seconded.
So Chris has been 40 years in the Audubon Society, so we're looking forward for his expertise in Dogtown also.
Great. Anybody else? Councilor Gilman?
Having attended the majority of the Dogtown Advisory Commission meeting, I just wanted to note that Chris Leahy has been the driving force of updating the 1985 plan for Dogtown into something that is 2020. And this is going to be a great opportunity to turn this research over to the new Dogtown Preservation Commission. And this is largely due to his due diligence in working through this. So that will be something that will be passed along to the city, and I'm excited about that. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Anybody else? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate your serving.
All right, moving right along. The Gloucester Cultural Council, Rebecca Nagel. Ordinance and Administration voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council appoint Rebecca Nagel to the Gloucester Cultural Council, term to expire 2/14/23, and I so move. Second. Rebecca, obviously, this is a cultural council. She has a background in arts, so we're looking forward for her expertise in this field also. So thank you.
Anybody else? Councilor Hecht.
I know Rebecca personally, and I think she's going to make a great addition. So thank you.
Excellent. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Next.
The Historical Commission, Lillian Olmsted. Ordinance Administration voted unanimously to recommend that the council appoint Lillian Olmsted to the Gloucester Historical Commission, term to expire 2/14/21, and I so move.
Second. Moved and seconded.
She has rehabilitated her historic home near Niles Beach, and she was suggested that they tear it down, and she kind of put it back together the way it was before, so it's nice to keep that historical part of Gloucester, and her expertise in historical buildings is going to be a great asset to this commission.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, Sarah.
Next, we have the Human Rights Commission.
Lillian, sorry.
Ordinance Administration voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council appoint Sarah Mitchell Peck to the Human Rights Commission, term to expire 2/14/22, and I so move.
Second. Moved and seconded.
She has firsthand experience in human rights and will be a great asset to the human rights which is now forming. So we're looking forward to having her on this board also, this commission.
Right, so this is an important, because this is a newly reconstituted commission.
Brand new.
Yep. Okay, anybody else? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Anything more? Nope. Okay, Madam Clerk, next item of business.
Next item is the consent agenda.
Okay, any councilors wish to pull off anything from the consent agenda? Councilor Gilman.
Thank you, Council. I'd like to remove Council Order CC 2019-041 Gilman, request amendment to GZO Appendix A, Rule 25, Rules of Procedure, Special Permit Procedures.
Okay, thank you. So with that removed, I have a motion to accept the rest of the consent
moved.
agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, Councilor Gilman.
So two things, councilors. First, I would like to have your consensus that we not need to refer this matter to the planning board. And the reason, because there's basically 6 more or less Scribner's error on our appendix. And those are just details of changing a number. So I'm not sure if we really need to do that. So I'd like to request that we just bring this back to P&D. And second, I would request that, given the notice to all abutters in the city, in this situation is impracticable, I move that the City Council waive the notice to abutters under GZO section, what? Oh,
Yeah, so
okay,
now
thank
if it's
you.
just the,
So-
city
then-
council rules, we don't need to worry about the abutters.
Terrific, then
So
forget
you-
about that. and
So
just
you wish to just refer this to P&D?
Yes, please, thank you.
Because it's just a council rule to change. Okay. And,
I'll second that.
okay, second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye,
So does that, then we're good.
yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
Great, thank you. Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Next order of business is the Budget and Finance Standing Committee report of November 21st.
Okay, Councilor Cox.
Thank you very much. Budget and Finance voted unanimously to recommend the City Council accept a cash donation from members and business partners to the Cape Ann Office of Veteran Services for the purpose of supporting an ongoing effort to veterans and active military duty for a total of $2,020, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comment, or is that self-explanatory?
There were 2 donations.
Okay. Just donation acceptance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next.
Budget and Finance voted unanimously to recommend the City Council accept cash donations totaling $2,156.20 from the Gloucester Police Department Public Safety Day to disperse to the Cops for Kids with Cancer organization, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other commentary?
The police department had a great event that raised money, and they want to put those funds towards Cops for Kids with Cancer.
Great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next.
Budget and Finance voted unanimously to recommend the City Council accept a federal grant from U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, passed through Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency in the amount of $8,500. And I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next.
Budget and Finance voted unanimously to recommend the City Council accept a federal grant passed through Mass Executive Office of Elder Affairs through Senior Care Incorporated for a Title III-B Older Americans Act grant for $9,841 for fiscal year 2020, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
The funds are used to supplement the hours and part-time salary for the outreach coordinator at the Rose Baker Senior Center. The grant period is from October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, and there is a minimum 10% local match for this grant.
Great. Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next.
Budget and Finance voted unanimously to approve 2020 SA 8 for $56,300 from account as noted to various city department general fund salary accounts as presented in the Budget and Finance Committee packet for the purpose of increasing budgets in 13 general fund salary accounts to fund ASME B salary increases for funding the ASME B contract for fiscal 2020, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. You might want to give us a narrative on this one.
The city engaged in a compensation and class study which included ASME B staff, and the classification plan as part of the personnel ordinance will require a public hearing for adoption in a separate matter. Even though this money is being brought forward now to the council for appropriation, this money will not be dispersed until the personnel ordinance is adopted by ONA and by the full city council. The overlay surplus, once released, will be utilized to replace the funds from the General Stabilization Fund. The Budget and Finance Committee was assured by the Chief Administrative Officer at its 21st meeting, November 21st meeting.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a supplemental appropriation, so this is a roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilor Cox?
Yes.
Councilor Gilman?
Yes.
Councilor Hecht?
Yes.
Councilor Holgram?
Yes.
Councilor Blank? Yes. Councilor Lundberg?
Yes.
Councilor Memhard?
Yes.
And Councilor Nolan? Yes. City Council motion to approve 2020 SA 8 for $56,300 passes on a vote of 9 in favor and 0 opposed.
I would like to ask for a reconsideration vote, please.
Moved and seconded. This will be a roll call vote for reconsideration. This is the one where vote no if you want it to go forward.
Councilor O'Hara?
Yes. No, I'm sorry.
No. Councilor Cox?
No.
Councilor Gilman? No. Councilor Hecht?
No.
Councilor Holgram?
No.
Councilor Blank? No. Councilor Lundberg?
No.
Councilor Memhard?
No.
And Councilor Nolan? No. Motion for reconsideration fails.
Thank you. And Councilor Cox, do you have one more for us?
I do.
Okay.
I move that the City Council approve the rescission of authorized to be borrowed but unissued debt in 21 completed projects in the amount of $3,214,452, as presented in the Budget and Finance Committee packet November 21st, 2019. These funds are no longer needed for the purpose for which they were initially approved, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I think that is also a roll call, right?
Yes.
Councilor Cox, you want to just tell us what that is?
We issued debt for projects that are completed, and so.
Leftovers, okay. Madam Clerk?
Counselor O'Hara?
Yes.
Counselor Cox?
Yes.
Counselor Gilman?
Yes.
Counselor Hecht?
Yes.
Counselor Holgram? Counselor LeBlanc?
Yes.
Counselor Lundberg?
Yes.
Counselor Memhard?
Yes.
And Counselor Nolan. The City Council motion to approve the rescission as specified passes on a vote of 9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next order of business?
Next order of business is the O&A Standing Committee report of November 18th.
There are no matters this evening.
Thank you. Next order?
Next order is the Planning and Development Standing Committee of November 20th.
Okay, Councilor Gilman.
Planning and Development Committee voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council grant a perpetual easement to 206 Main Street Limited Partnership to construct and maintain bay windows, cornices, and canopies, which will be part of the mixed-use building to be constructed at the property at 206 Main Street over the easement area. It is the responsibility of the grantee to file the granted easement at their expense with the Essex South Registry of Deeds, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilor Gilman, you want to just tell us what that is?
Okay. Our Community Development Director came to P&D and explained, Jill Cahill, and explained that 206 Main Street is known as Harbor Village by 206 Main Street Limited Partnership, care of North Shore Community Development Coalition for Low-Income Housing. The Land Disposition Committee, through the mayor, is recommending an air easement. The ZBA had recommended a design review, and this was a recommendation that came out of the review because of bay window bump outs.
Thank you. It's a simple majority. Any questions for Councilor Gilman? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And next, Councilor Gilman.
Planning and Development Committee voted unanimously to recommend that the City Council grant an easement at 32 Harbor Loop. Assessors Map 9, Lot 24, Loop Realty Trust, for the purpose of accessing the renovated building across a 5-foot by 8-foot strip of city-owned land. This easement is granted on the condition that the easement shall expire if the building is no longer used for the purpose of housing the offices of a Chamber of Commerce. It is the responsibility of the grantee to file the granted easement at their expense with the Essex South Registry of Deeds, and I so move.
Moved and seconded.
Narrative, the city was approached by the Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce looking to relocate to Harbor Loop. In order to do so, they needed handicap access to the building, which requires space across public land to build out that ramp, which totals 48 square feet. The easement is conditioned that it will expire if the building is no longer used as a Chamber of Commerce. She pointed out that this easement has a public use in that it will see the addition of more public bathrooms to the downtown area and have a centrally located visitors center. She being Jill Cahill again.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Madam Clerk, next order of business.
Next order of business is the scheduled public hearing 2019-058, Special City Council Permit 2019-008, Fuller Street, number 35, map 168, lot 14, Gloucester zoning ordinance, section 1.8.3, standard to be applied, section 2.3.1, parentheses 7, conversion to or new multifamily or apartment dwelling 4 to 6 dwelling units, in section 3.2.2, dimensional requirements for multifamily dwelling and their accessory uses other than signs by increasing the number of residential units from 2 3-bedroom units to 4 2-bedroom units and 2 1-bedroom units for a total of 6 units.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing and just describe a couple of ground rules. So normally at public hearings, we have those wishing to speak in favor first. We will have the applicant, and the applicant has up to 15 minutes to present. And after that, anyone wishing to speak in favor will have 3 minutes. Then we will have those wishing to speak in opposition. The opposition, if organized, can have up to 15 minutes to present, then followed by anyone else wishing to talk for 3 minutes. In opposition, Attorney Meredith Fine, who's representing one of the abutters, is going to make a presentation on behalf of the opponents for up to 15 minutes, unless anyone who's in opposition here objects to Meredith speaking in that role. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition will have their 3 minutes after that. So, anyone? Okay. So we'll start first with the applicant and having up to 15 minutes for this project. Mr. Nestor, identify name and address, and go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Mark Nestor. I'm an attorney at 45 Middle Street, Gloucester, Massachusetts, and I represent Beauport Shores LLC, which is comprised of Paul Cagneo, Frank Rossetti, Tom Schulin, and John Rosico. 2 are locals. Before you is a special permit, 3 special permits. 1 to convert to new multifamily 4 to 6 dwellings, a special permit to increase the number of residential units from 2 3-bedroom units to 4 2-bedroom units and 2 1-bedroom units. And now one of the 1-bedroom units has a deed restriction, affordable housing unit that we put it in. We're also seeking a special permit to decrease minimum lot area per dwelling unit and a special permit to decrease minimum open space per dwelling unit. And these are the only things that are before the City Council. See if I work this right. Just when I want to do it didn't. All right, let's do it this way. Let me try one more time and work for practice. All right, we'll do it that way. Do it the old-fashioned way, kick it. All right, before you is 35 Fuller Street. It was built around 1900. Second slide, please.
Mark, can you make it to full screen instead of...
Yeah, go back, go back. All right, we got a full screen now. That better? How about that? Okay, thank you. That's the prior building, look corner of Fuller Norman Avenue, built around 1900. Next slide. On October 24th, 2014, 35 Fuller Street was completely destroyed by fire. Also like to point out that this is 35 Fuller Street. This is the deck that was attached onto it, and this is the 282 square foot shed that's also attached on the property. Next slide, please. That's the current condition of 35 Fuller Street. It's been that way for approximately 5 years. It's essentially an empty space which is used as a trash receptacle. I keep on getting calls from people walking by saying they see people dropping leaves, trash, whatever. We've cleaned it up and picked it up a couple times. On August 8th, 2019, after unanimous vote, the ZBA granted a special permit to us to exceed the height of 30 feet to 35 feet. Initially, we went before the ZBA asking for 40 feet in height. After discussion with some of the neighbors and the ZBA, we amended our application to reduce it to 35 feet, which was allowed. We also had a special permit to allow a lesser number of off-street parking, and we were granted a special permit to alter, expand a non-conforming structure or use to increase from 2 3-bedroom apartments to 4 2-bedroom apartments, condominium units, and 2 one-bedroom condominium units, with one being a deed-restricted low-income affordable housing unit. And we were granted certain dimensional setbacks. The reason we come before you is to seek, so we can in fact construct that. We will have 6 condominium units, not apartments, and 1 commercial unit, which will house Magnolia House of Peace again. This building will now come with a sprinkler system and an elevator. This will be managed by a condominium association and not by an absentee landlord. We'll replace the 6 bedrooms of the prior building with a total of 10 bedrooms. We'll reduce 3 commercial units to 1 and remove a 282 square foot shed to reduce increased footprint. We will construct 11 off-street parking spaces for the condominium units, and we will locate 1 dumpster within the fenced-off area based on conversation we had from the number of city councilors. Next slide. One more, keep going. That one. The spot over there was scheduled to be a handicap spot. We're going to put the dumpster over there, and we're going to move the handicap one spot over. Since initially we had 12 off-street parking spots, 9 of which were full-size and 3 of which are compact, we're now reducing it to 8 full-size and 3 compact, which is still 2 over the requirements for residential units, where you need 1.5 parking spots per unit. We will construct a new on-site wastewater system and approved by the Board of Health on January 22nd. We're going to construct a new stormwater management system, which was approved by the Planning Board. We'll installation of an elevator, and we'll provide ZBA managed screening along this border between 35 and 33. It is mandated that we start out with either tall shrubs or arborvitae of at least 12 feet in height. Next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, go back one. No, that's fine. There were questions raised before during site visits, and there's a 24-foot space between the back of the building and the parking spots, and which is approved by the Planning Board. In fact, Greg Catamatore at the last P&D meeting acknowledged that was approved by the Planning Board. In fact, 24 feet depth is the acceptable depth, so that cars can turn around inside the parking area and not have to back off on the street to turn around. We're going to provide for retention of stormwater runoff and drainage due to the increased subsurface water facility. Next screen. One more. Keep going. This is the development. We've incorporated some of the suggestions in the design of the exterior based on the meeting with the Magnolia residents, and we wanted to keep it in character with the neighborhood. This is the first floor of the building. It will have the commercial area over here, which will be now reduced to 16 seats. It will have a primary entrance here for both the restaurant and the condominiums. The restaurant will also have an entrance over here for takeouts, and so now people who are taking out will be able to park on Norman Avenue for a quick in and out. We have the kitchen back here. This is the rear entrance to the condominium units. There is a rear entrance here back for the kitchen. These are where the 2 one-bedroom condominium units will be located on the first floor. Next screen. This is a representation of the second floor. Again, it has 4 two-bedroom apartments. I'd also point out that this has an elevator, and again, this is all sprinkled. Next. This is the third floor. Again, it's similar to the second floor. Again, 4 two-bedroom apartments, bringing the total of 10 units. And next one. This is the design. We took that after taking some input from the neighbors as far as what they were looking for the exterior. We wanted something that was an appealing sight to visitors and residents when entering Magnolia from either Magnolia Avenue and Raymond Street. Clearly, Magnolia Square is one of the first areas that residents and tourists see when they come into Magnolia, essentially from either the west or from the north. So this is what will be on the corner. This is the front entrance. This is the side entrance. In the rear area, which faces, or the rear of the church, we'll have additional screening back there. We provide in this proposal to have snow management, trash recycling, fire department, ambulance access, new sewage disposal, new stormwater management system, all considered into the new system. One of the issues that we had at the ZABA hearing is a request by an abutter to move the HVA system, which at that time was going to be on the right-hand side of the building on Fuller Street, to the rear. We were concerned that that was going to clog up the rear, and so we've now relocated to the HVA system to the top of the 3rd floor. It's still under the 35 feet and it'll be open, so we can address the concerns of the city council and the abutter regarding the location, having the HVAC just sit out on the sidewalk. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. That's the rear. You'll have the main condo entrance here, the kitchen entrance there, screening over here to the, go back to if you can. Okay. Over here, after the shed is removed, this from here to the boundary is going to be shrubs and about a 35 by 35 square foot area that's going to be just grass and shrubs. Keep going. Yep. Keep going. Keep going. All right, one more. Okay. Show this to show you the dimensional layouts. One of the issues that was raised before was the footprint. Currently, the prior existing footprint of the building was 2,390 square feet. That was included 2,108 square foot of the building and 282 square foot for the shed. The proposed is going to be 2,665 square foot total, which includes the shed being removed, which calls for an increase of 11.5% or 275 square feet. There was an increase, there will be the existing volume of the premises, which was what number of issues raised, is 70,519 square feet. The proposed is 95,810 feet for a 36.8% increase. Again, as you'll see down here, the original building was estimated to be at 35.8 feet. Our original proposal was 40 feet. 35 feet was the final proposal, which was allowed by the City Council. Some other issues are, we're reducing the commercial, and the old building was 2,350 feet. I'm sorry. The commercial was previously 2,350 feet. It's being reduced to 1,084 feet. It's a 54% reduction. The number of retail units are going down from 3 to 1. To the left-hand side of the House of Pizza before used to be a beauty salon. That's all gone. The seats are being reduced. In the summertime, when the deck was on the side, there was 32. In the wintertime, it was 26. That's now being reduced to 16. We're going from 2 apartments to 6 apartments, 6 bedrooms to 10 bedrooms, no off-street parking to actually 11 off-street parking because of the inclusion of a dumpster. The 6 standards that have to be met to get a special permit. The social, economic, and community needs will be served by the proposed site. This site will be 6 condominium units, not apartments. Home ownership, which will ensure a higher level of maintenance and increase housing availability in Gloucester. One of the 1-bedroom units will be a deed-restricted unit for low-income affordable housing, which will run with the property. It was not required. We volunteered it. This proposal will remove a large vacant lot eyesore and nuisance that currently occupies Magnolia, that assails visitors when they enter the square from either Raymond Avenue or Magnolia Avenue, with a tastefully designed residential and commercial structure. It'll bring back Magnolia Pizza, which will provide employment opportunities. The design was enhanced to conform with the surrounding architecture in Magnolia. Next screen. Next screen. Oh, go back one, sorry. He's better than my clicker. The location has always been a non-conforming lot with a non-conforming building. similar to the other buildings in the square and the surrounding area. It is also located in an area that's already multi-use. You have a church, you have apartments, you have Magnolia Variety, you have Magnolia Health Club, you have Magnolia Garage, in addition to multifamilies and single-family units. The required are on these screens here. The actual are on the right-hand screens. When it got blown up, it turned the black ink into red ink, but suffice it to say that almost everyone here almost every lot there is smaller than required. The lot size for R20, this is actually an NB neighborhood because it is, we refer to the nearest residential, which is R20. The lot size is 20,000 square feet for the lot. Every lot within that area, go to the next screen and we'll come back. There was an issue raised by Attorney Fine that we hadn't included enough houses, so I agreed to include these other houses, which she represented were also in the similar area. You will also see again that every one of these ones in this column are under the lot size. Go back to the next slide. The minimum lot per dwelling is, for each dwelling, you need 10,000 square feet. What I have on the first is the total number that is required, and it shows it's 10,000 square feet per dwelling. The only one that is different is 9 Norman Avenue because it's in the village district, so its numbers are lower. But again, if you go down the list, you will see that almost all other dwellings within this district and the surrounding bank to 35 Fuller are undersized. Next screen. The same thing applies to the additional ones too. There's only one at 3 Magnolia Avenue that is larger than is required. Go back to the other screen. When you talk about open space, the same thing applies. Everything in the red means that you're under what the minimum open space requirements are. And there are 2 that are not on the first page. Next page, please. And there's 3 on that. This is, I took a total, there's approximately 23 different properties within that area. I expanded out a little bit, but to give an overall, it's 23 properties. Now, one correction which I made to the City Council this morning, and I made it briefly last night, there was an issue raised about the open space for 35 Fuller. When I went to calculate these to add on the additional comments, I noticed my footnote down below which said reduced for building footprint and parking area in the rear. Unfortunately, I forgot about the parking area on the side, so I had to redo it. So I had John Judd, who did the initial site plan, give me the correct calculations this morning, and as I sent in a letter to the City Council today, it should be actually 1,368 square feet is what the actual open space is. Now, we've already got before this council, one of the requests we have back to have the reduced minimum lot area, so all we did is tweak the open space. Three-story building has always been there. It will create some short-term construction jobs. It will eliminate the current water flow to Fuller Street and Norman Avenue. It provides a significant increase in real estate. In regards to the second, which is traffic safety, off-street parking for all residents, and like the old building where there was only on-street parking for the apartments, will reduce the traffic on the square. Off-street parking will be off Norman Avenue to the rear of the building. The parking lot, which was approved by the planning board, is sufficient for motor vehicles to turn around inside the parking lot and not to have back into the street. Again, we placed a dumpster in the corner of the parking lot in response to concerns regarding trash removal. That way it's all controlled in one site. You're not going to see purple bags outside from the residential units. You're not going to see plastic barrels in the back, which would be unsightly. It's all going to go into a dumpster. I would point out that most of the businesses surrounding it, to include Magnolia Variety, Magnolia Health Center, do not have parking off-street. The church doesn't have parking off-street. A number of the residents, especially multifamily, have some off-street parking, but not the amount required. The same for some of the single-family. A lot of people rely already on using Norman Avenue and Raymond Street, especially the church on Saturday and Sunday, and especially the owners and employees of the other business establishments, especially Magnolia Health and Magnolia Variety. They have to live park or park right outside the building, run in and run out. We reduced the restaurant seating to 16, which reduced the customer vehicular parking. In addition, large portion of the business for Magnolia Pizza has always been within the village, the Boaters, Magnolia Beach Club, and Manchester Bath and Tennis. I know an issue has been raised regarding congestion and possible congestion. I would just point out, and I will confess that I'm a carpetbagger, so I've only been here since 1986. When I first arrived, in addition to 35 Fuller Street, the Variety Store, Magnolia Health, and the church, we also had the Surf Restaurant, which was well known, and yes, it had an off-street parking lot, but we had increased volume of traffic on both Raymond Street and Magnolia Avenue, entering and egressing it. We had the Bradley's liquor store and Edgewater Cafe, and they have gone. The Surf's gone, turned into a park, very nice park. Edgewater Cafe is gone. Bradley's liquor store is gone. And I would submit that that has significantly reduced the impact of the congestion that was there before, and which, to my understanding, at the time I was there was no ever issues regarding the square was too congested. People always seemed to make it fit throughout 50 years. And now with those 3 commercial businesses gone, and we are seeking to reduce the on-street parking of 35 Fuller, that I would submit there is not a congestion issue. Further, the other safety issues enhanced by both having the entire building outfitted with sprinklers, as well as the luxury we now have, thanks to the city council and the mayor, a fire station was open year-round, which is approximately 100 yards from the building. The third requirement is adequacy of utilities and other public services. The utilities and other public services are more than adequate. The building will have a brand-new on-site wastewater system that is approved by the Board of Health. The Planning Board has approved a new subsurface stormwater facility, a new sprinkler system. The proximity of a fire station, now open year-round, is a plus. The units are only 1 or 2 bedrooms versus the prior, which had 3 bedrooms, and should not have a detrimental impact on the school system. The fourth one is neighborhood character. Go back to the prior screen. The building and the proposed exterior is intended to incorporate the design to blend with the historical nature of the surrounding buildings and contribute to the tenor of the historic village of Magnolia. It is keeping with what was previously stood on the spot. Approval of this proposal would allow the residents of Magnolia to again be served and to be able to erect an appropriate building on the now empty and forlorn corner lot, which sits prominently in Magnolia Square. We had 2 community meetings and a meeting with some of the opponents. My client stayed until all the questions were answered, regardless of the content. Providing 6 additional housing condominium units, including one in which is a deed-restricted, affordable, low-income housing unit, will increase the housing stock in the village of Magnolia. Brings more activity and social interaction to Magnolia Square. For the record, I previously submitted this week to the City Council petitions and postcards signed by 192 residents, and I understand more emails are coming. Clearly, a number of residents do not have concerns regarding this building have a negative impact on the neighborhood quality and social character. In regards to the qualities of the natural environment, with the new stormwater management system and the new on-site wastewater system, the qualities of the natural environment will actually be improved. Stormwater will now be collected on site and retained rather than being allowed to pour into the square, which can have a negative impact, especially on the winter and steep grade. An issue was raised whether, in fact, that the below surface of 35 Fuller Street was a shallow depth of dirt followed by granite. I've been advised by both the Board of Health who approved it as well as the individual who did the test pits for the site. That's not the case. It's one of the few sites on Lake Magnolia Shores, which is next to me, that doesn't have granite, it has gravel. In regards to potential financial impact, approval will increase the real estate tax base and provide increased real estate revenues to the city, employment opportunities for the Magnolia House of Pizza. One of the reasons that the building was sold was because the prior owners, Tony and Lisa DiMercura, who will still be coming back in Magnolia Pizza, discovered it was not financially feasible to construct an attractive building with 4 residential units and 2 commercial units due to contract and construction costs. My clients seek to increase the number of residential units from 2 to 6 for financial reasons. With the current construction costs, just building 6 units in a quality manner is financially, and just building 4 units in a quality manner is financially unfeasible, which would have an impact on the character and the qualities of the business. Plus, there are increased costs due to new incurred stormwater and on-site waste disposal system, plus the addition of 11 off-street parking spaces, and the number of new bedrooms will only include from 6 to 10, and an elevator. My clients are not absolutely trying to maximize profits, but do want to construct a building that is commensurate with the neighborhood, and yes, to make a reasonable profit. There are 2 dimensional special permits we're seeking. One allows minimum lot area per dwelling unit per 3.2.2A or minimum open space dwelling, or both to be decreased by special permit from the City Council. The criteria for those are, there's a finding that a lesser lot area or open space is in keeping with the neighborhood, character, and structural density. As I defined before, the minimum lot area for an R20 is 10,000 square foot per dwelling. This is commercial. The minimum open space is 7,500 square foot per dwelling. Open space is defined as remaining lot area after excluding buildings, driveways, and parking. Now, just for the record, go back one. No, go forward, I'm sorry. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. That's one. Oop, back. When I did these calculations, the only one I adjusted for parking and driveways was 35 Fuller. I didn't adjust for parkings and driveways for other of the buildings, which may reduce the open space available. The open space that are listed there is just the pure lot subtracted, of the building subtracted from the total lot space. It does not include any parking spaces, any driveways that any other facilities have, or for off-street.
So, are you almost done, Mark? Because
Yep.
we've gone quite a bit over.
Oh, sorry. Briefly, this ordinance is guided by the principles set out in General Law, Chapter 40, Zoning Enable Act. This act is, its introduction sets out having minimum lot size, namely to protect important resources and landscapes. However, included is Section 9, which permits special permits. This site does not increase congestion, overburden the site, or reduce light and air. I repeated before, many buildings are on undersized lots and don't meet minimums. I would submit that this proposal does. We do not create parking hazards. We answer the factors. We answer the factors, both dimensions and the special permits for dimension size. We answer the 6 requirements for the special permit, and I would ask that this be approved. Do you have any questions?
Okay, thank you very much. So you did, excuse me, go over, so when the opponents come up, if they need some extra time, we're going to grant that.
That's fine.
Number 2, when we have other people who wish to speak in favor, we received a lot of emails and letters and stuff, and if you've done that, you don't have to come up and speak. You're certainly welcome to, but if you have already submitted something for the record, it is in the record, it is noted, and it will be made part of this proceeding. And the third thing I wanted to say, Mark, you did write us to correct that clerical error in your application, which is part of our motion. So we will, when we get to that part of our hearing, we'll amend the motion to correct that, but I just wanted to note that, so it's,
Thank you.
so that you know we're going to do that. Now, We normally have counselor questions at the end of both the opponents and the proponents, but there's a lot of facts here. Some of us have been involved from P&D on all of this stuff, so we know a lot of them, but I'm going to just take a pause here, and if there are any counselors who wish to ask Mark any questions of fact or technical stuff, you can do it now. You can also wait till we're all done, but if there's something fresh in your mind you wish to ask him right now, before we proceed with the other people in favor. Anybody have a question for Councilor Hecht?
So, Counselor, are you saying that in your comparison of open space, that in the set that is not the project set, you know, the competitive set, that you've taken really the land size minus the building size, and that's been defined as open space?
That's correct. I did not do any deductions for parking areas or
Right.
driveways.
And then on the subject property, you've taken out the parking and
Yes.
paved area, and so it's really not an apples-to-apples comparison, as I can see.
Well, it's the best I could do. I didn't want to start calculating the driveways and the parking lots for all 21 other areas. I can tell you the Magnolia variety has no open space. The Magnolia Health Center has no open space. It's all paved. The Magnolia Garage has a building or pavement.
But my point is that the calculations that you have are demonstrating a lower open space. If you define open space as land size minus footprint,
Right.
which is you've done for the competitive set, then you change that, and it's land size minus pavement minus building footprint for the subject, right?
Only for my subject area, it's land size minus building minus pavement minus driveway.
Correct.
For all the other ones, it's just land size minus the building. Quite truthfully, all the other ones, if I calculate in parking lots or driveways, it would reduce their open space, which is already below the minimum.
Thank you.
Oh, I also wanted to point out to councilors, we have several members of city staff here to answer questions about the applications. If you don't have to ask them now, I mean, we'll wait till we're done, but I just wanted to see if anybody had questions for, and we can bring him back too. Anybody else right now? Okay, thank you, Mark. You can sit down. So, other people wishing to speak in favor of this proposition will have 3 minutes each, and if you wish to speak, if you wouldn't mind lining up over here to my left, your right.
You made me do quite a long walk.
Yes, name and address for the record. Thank you.
My name is Kylie Davis. I live at 22 Magnolia Avenue. First and foremost, I wanted to give you a quick background. I currently own a house that was built in 1889 in Magnolia, so preserving the integrity of our little village is important to me. Obviously, the physical look to this building continues to maintain that. They've taken that into quite consideration. I drive by this lot more than once a day. I walk by this lot 4 days a week with my son and my dog to bring him to school. So obviously, I want to see something put there that we can all enjoy and also not regret in 10 years. Something that I think is really important is pointing out that you did receive quite a few emails for or against. I did hear that was mentioned when Mr. Nestor was speaking, but something I would like to ask, and I think this is allowed, is of the individuals in this room behind me, if you currently vote in Magnolia, would you please stand or raise your hand if you're unable to stand? If you are for this building as proposed, please leave your hands in the air. If you drive by this building every day, where it will be, please leave your hands in the air. Thank you. That's all. Kylie, K-I-L-E-Y. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? Okay. So in opposition, recognize Attorney Fine. You will have up to 27 minutes. I know you only want to take 10, please.
I'm not going to take 27 minutes.
Please, only take 10, thank you. Go ahead, name and address for
I
the
don't have
record,
that much
please.
of material. Good evening, my name is Meredith Fine. I'm an attorney at 46 Middle Street. I represent Jerry McCarthy, who's here with me this evening. Jerry grew up next door to 35 Fuller Street and still owns 2 abutting properties. As recently as this morning, when I checked the file at the city clerk's office, we still did not know exactly what relief was being requested. Every single application that has been made for this project has been incorrect, I'm sorry to say. And these are not clerical errors, with all due respect to the chair. These are serious material errors in every single application. And I don't know how you can have confidence in the material that's been presented to you this evening. One thing is clear, this property will be built out to its property lines on all 4 sides. The footprint will be 21% bigger. Attorney Nestor and I calculate the footprint differently. He always includes the shed that's being taken down. But more importantly, the more important number is the volume, the mass of the building, which will increase almost 40%. It will be a very significantly larger building than was there before on a very small lot. This is largely a residential neighborhood. The initial list of comparative properties had been gerrymandered to include properties that would make this one look like it fit. But in fact, the majority of properties around this building are single-family homes. And this building will be grossly out of proportion to that neighborhood. The parking lot is too small, does not meet the requirements once they changed the layout at the last P&D meeting, and does not have the proper permits. And one of the results of the parking lot being too small is that there will be serious traffic congestion at that corner where the takeout entrance is going to be. So if you think about that takeout entrance, they're adding 10 bedrooms in that building. They're adding a takeout restaurant. There's no loading zone, so they're adding truck deliveries. The church has no parking. There's already 4 lanes of cars in that road, two sides parked along the side, and then the traffic. There's a parking lot of cars coming in and out. And because there's a new curb cut, you're going to be losing at least 1 parking space, if not 2. You can't seriously believe that this project is going to lessen traffic at that corner where it's coming into the Rotary. The applicant provides no evidence at all to support their claim that there'll be less traffic. But if you look at the evidence, at the amount of use that's going to be in that takeout area, and you use your own common sense, there is going to be a whole lot of traffic at that Rotary. Now, as the previous speaker said, there's been a lot of public opinion, strong public opinion, for and against. And each side, during the zoning process, each side submitted petitions. Mr. McCarthy presented petitions. The applicant presented petitions with more than 100 signatures from both sides. And then this new postcard apparently went out and were submitted to you as petitions. And I think it's very important to take a careful look at what these new petitions say. It says, yes, I support Beauport Shores LLC application to the Gloucester City Council to rebuild 35 Fuller Street. I request the Gloucester City Council to approve it. Bring back Magnolia House of Pizza. That's the petition that people signed. It doesn't say the building, support this building that's going to be almost 40% bigger. It says rebuild 35 Fuller Street. And the intention there is to
leave the impression that it's going to be the same building that was there before. And when it says bring back Magnolia House of Pizza, we have never seen one shred of evidence that the Magnolia House of Pizza has any legal obligation to move into that property. Not one shred of evidence. The question comes up, how much profit is a landowner entitled to? This is still America, and people get to make a profit. I'm not arguing that point. But I am arguing that profit has nothing to do with your calculation at all. At all. It would be totally inappropriate for you to weigh that factor. But let's say, for the sake of argument, you do weigh that factor in the back of your mind. A bigger building does not necessarily mean more profit. It may mean more expense, but it does not necessarily mean more profit. And again, the applicant has not presented any evidence at all that this proposal is the only profitable proposal they can make. I'm going to bring up espressos. I'm not going to dwell on it. I just want to make a couple of points. I do think it's instructive to compare the two proposals. The applicant in East Gloucester was looking for significantly less relief than this applicant is looking for. For example, on the Espresso's property, that applicant was looking for 57% less open space than was required, 57%. This applicant is looking for 96% relief from the open space requirement, virtually no open space. The council at the time felt that the Espresso's proposal was too dense for that neighborhood, and this is too dense for this neighborhood when you look at what the impact is going to be on that rotary. And then I hope the president will forgive me for sharing some of his own thoughts from the Espresso decision. The president of the council said at the time that the reason he was voting against, one of the reasons he was voting against Espressos, was that there were other uses that could be made of that property. And that is certainly the case here. There are plenty of other uses that are allowed under the zoning for this property at 35 Fuller Street. Most notably, the applicant is allowed to build on the old footprint. And that is what Mr. McCarthy supports, building on the old footprint. I have empathy for the position that you find yourselves in and for the challenge of balancing the various policy priorities that you have to face between housing and neighborhood character is a very difficult tension, and I get that. But turning this down doesn't mean that you're against housing. You can be for housing and still not want to stuff a property to the property lines just for the sake of more housing. You can do housing better than this. The bottom line is the parking doesn't work, the traffic doesn't work, the huge mass of this building does not work. And I ask you, I urge you to turn these permits down.
Thank you. So at this time, we will have other people who wish to speak in opposition, 3 minutes each. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Carol Durga. I live at 7 Norman Avenue. Well, I again, like others, have felt that the building is too large. I have questions that I feel are unanswered. One is questions about the roof. Is the roof flat or not? The drawings are showing different slopes and flatness, and I'm curious about that. I wonder if the air conditioning units, which are now going to be placed on the roof, are they visible from the street? I wonder if the trees along the property line abutting the church, they seem to be quite on the property line. I wonder if those are going to be taken down or if they will remain there. And finally, on the phrase low-income affordable unit, I really don't know what that means, and I wonder who's watching that definition, and if someone could clarify that for us. And I don't know if it's fair to ask what the unit will be priced at and then what that unit will cost for the affordable person. Anyway, I'm just curious about those questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Come forward and name and address for the record.
Hello, John O'Hara, 55 Lexington Ave, Magnolia. Bear with me, I'm kind of scribbling notes on top of what I had prepared here tonight. First, I'm a lifelong resident of Magnolia since 1962. My parents bought there in 1958. And as we all know, Magnolia is ledge, pure ledge. So when they moved there in 58, there was raw sewage running down the streets, if you can believe that. So I'm going to go over my concerns on this. First is environmental, second is safety, third is parking, and then some aesthetic concerns. The first is environmental. In addition to the sewage, as far as I can remember, growing up, going to Magnolia Beach, and to this day, as I was out paddleboarding like a month ago, you could see the drain pipes that are on Shore Road running into the harbor. And when you walk that beach, the Gloucester side of the beach in the summertime, your feet will sink in and your feet will be excessively warm. And this is all due to the runoff. In addition, Magnolia Beach has also gotten a reputation called Stinky Beach by the residents of Manchester. But, and on several occasions, and I think last year it happened as well, because of a high bacteria count, this city Board of Health had put signs down at the landing stating that there was no swimming. So adding, 6 more units in a restaurant to this, even though this is proposed, tight tank, this is certainly going to add to the environmental impact of Magnolia Harbor and the beach. Secondly is safety. There's 3 stop signs there, and there has been there for a while. I would say, in my observation, those are heated probably maybe 50% of the time. Okay, and so I've witnessed myself, I've had experiences myself almost being hit in my vehicle and on my bike because I'm an avid cyclist. I've also witnessed kids almost being hit on bikes, cars almost having accidents, and kids at the school bus stop having close calls. So needless to say, adding more traffic to that is not going to help. Parking. Concern is not just with increased traffic, but taking over the public spaces, the limited public spaces we have in Magnolia, both at the town landing, which is used for beachgoers, residents, kids that play basketball, and people that go and use their boats. And so both that and then the surf park, which has a limited parking space for people that want to go or walk and sit in the park, both of those are going to be used as additional parking for these residents in the restaurant. And that's really unfair to the local residents and the kids of the community. I want to make a comment Attorney Nestor made about the surrounding buildings, existing businesses not having parking. So as Attorney Fine had said, we have to use common sense. So because these existing buildings don't have parking, so we want to add more non-parking to another building, that does not make any common sense. Aesthetically, a supersized building obviously does not fit our neighborhood. Increasing it, as Attorney Fine said, by, I don't know what percentage it was, certainly does not fit our neighborhood nor that existing location. So for these reasons, I obviously feel that this is highly uncharacteristic of Magnolia and also unsafe and environmentally impactful. Last but not least, I want to mention quickly a few brief comments, and none of these are personal to those here. Developers, restaurant owner, and legal counsel. First, the developers who have owned it have left it unkempt for the amount of years they've owned it, as did the restaurant owner. The only time it was cleaned was when we, at this city council meeting probably months ago, had complained about a mattress being there for months on end and it being overgrown. The grass was cut, the mattress removed, and then it's been left overgrown since. The restaurant owner, as Attorney Fine said, there's not a stitch of evidence that the Tony's restaurant, that restaurant owner, has shown any sign of reopening the restaurant. So that's just pulling the heartstrings, saying bring back Tony's. And lastly, legal counsel Mark Nestor has commented about he lives in the village. He's a resident. That's true and that's not true. He lives over a half mile away, up in the woods. So there'll be no additional traffic or effect to his neighborhood at all. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, come forward, please. And name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Tammy Mentis, 19 Fuller Street, Magnolia, nearly 50 years resident. Also a member of the local church for years. I'll be brief. I'm very concerned about the traffic, the increased traffic. I'd like to ditto a lot of what John just said, but I have also witnessed a lot of problems in that it's a 5-way intersection, a lot of problems there already. I used to let my kids walk to the store and back. If I were a parent with young children now, no way, and definitely not on a bike. It's already bad, and I do want a building there. I know we all want a building there, but I think it's too big. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Okay. So at this point, oh, sorry. Name and address for the record, please.
Linda McCarriston, 16 Quarry Street. I'm here with Mary Lou Tierney's papers in my hands because, unfortunately, although she was prepared for this meeting, the meeting date was changed until 2 nights before Thanksgiving, when she, like many other people, had already made travel plans. And I have supported Mary Lou in the work that she's done. I have admired her tenacity and the detail with which she has examined this proposal and has found the particular instances of these errors in measurement and errors of representation that other people have mentioned. Certainly, I'm unable to present to you everything that she has done and sent out to many, many people. I'd like to mention a few major things. One of which is her group of signatures, which are real signatures. These are Xeroxes of the pages of signatures. And I will read what she asked the signers to sign. Opposition to proposal at 35 Fuller Street. I have reviewed plans for a new building at 35 Fuller Street by Beauport Shores, LLC. The proposed building is too large for the neighborhood, will overshadow nearby buildings, will create parking and traffic problems, and will be substantially detrimental to the neighborhood. I respectfully ask the City Council to deny the permits for this proposal. It will also, I may add, derogate from the intent of our own preamble to the zoning ordinances, and it is detrimental to the public good, which is what we are about, the balance between the public good and individual interest. It's clear from what everyone has said that this is an overcrowding problem, and it's clear, even for someone who doesn't go there, that the mechanics of this little space are really not being adequately represented or fleshed out. For one thing, these 11 or 10 or however many parking spaces don't exist, even in the drawings. There are only, I think, 8 lines, sort of. It's very mishmashy about what's a parking space. The handicapped parking space, which of course we all know, having inadvertently pulled into one for the first time, is really double wide to allow for the special, egress that a handicapped van requires. The sidewalk, Mary Lou takes great pains to describe and to draw the sidewalk that goes all around that block, and that was a solid, safe walking space, apparently, that was contiguous with the water going up to one of the main streets in Magnolia. And it's going to be gone. It's going to have a 26-foot wide cut in it for access and egress to this parking lot that's on the land with this overly large building. And that parking lot that's supposedly going to hold all the cars necessary for 10 bedrooms, which would be 10 cars, I guess, plus some parking. Is that not right? It is right, okay. One person per bedroom? I mean, one car per bedroom, never mind. One
One and a
one
half
per unit,
spaces per
okay.
unit. Keep
One per
going.
unit, okay. We also have to add for the parking, if it's allowable, for the customers who occupy tables in the pizza place. She makes a great deal of that, and she documents it. I wish that you all could read. I know she has submitted to you many of these documents. She's concerned with a concrete wall without a height dimension that's going to be at the start of the edge of the property and the sidewalk on Norman Ave at the existing curb. She doesn't know what that wall will be nor how high it'll be and how much it might obstruct the view of drivers. She mentions Dempsey dumpsters. It's very difficult to imagine one dumpster is going to service this property, all these apartments, and and someone else mentioned trucking. Who's going to, come in and haul out the grease from the restaurant? I mean, there's every imaginable thing. It's like, what do people do all day? For Richard Scarry, just popped into my mind, all jammed into one very small area. And I wish that Mary Lou had been able to be here tonight. I will be more than happy to share with you or with anyone in the audience any of the pieces of work that she has done so thoroughly that I think point out instance after instance after instance after instance where these special exemptions that are being requested by Beauport LLC add up to 3 pounds of oranges in a 1-pound sack. It just doesn't work. It really does not work. And I believe that there is a sense of sort of, he's playing on a sense of nostalgia, playing on a sense of the past. This is something that's being built today. and it must conform to today's zoning ordinances, as would all of those other people if, you know, if they wanted to make huge major changes to their homes. They would have to conform to today's zoning ordinances, as we all do. I think, you know, playing the fiddle here, playing on the heartstrings for something that is going to cause a lot of grief and perhaps danger, and he'll be gone. But all the people who've lived there and who represent the danger and difficulty, particularly with children, that they feel they would encounter, I think deserve to be heard and listened to tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I'd like to impose 211C, please.
Through the chair.
Yes, Councilor Cox.
Can we get through the rest of the presentation and the pros and cons before we do that? Just for the benefit of the audience?
I don't want to see this public hearing closed.
Well, we won't close it.
Right, but I mean, if you call for a 211C right now, we're done.
Yeah, and
There
all these
is no
people
more
who showed
discussion.
up are...
Understood, but I think there's enough information here that's been presented that further investigation on my part and to continue this public hearing, I'm not comfortable with that.
I don't...
So as a counselor, again, I'd like to impose 211C, please.
The other thing we have tonight is we have city staff here who have made themselves available tonight to answer councilors' questions, and I think that...
I understand. Again, I impose 211C as a city councilor. Thank you.
Councilor Hecht?
I'm not totally
Doesn't matter.
up on
So
the
then
ramifications of
we're all
211C.
done with we will we'll continue the public hearing until our next meeting, December 10th.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, so I'll explain. So the city charter allows any councilor to impose a request to suspend a public hearing until the next meeting. And so that is what Councilor O'Hara has decided to do here. That's his prerogative to do that. So we will resume the public hearing on December 10th. And at that time, if we have, it will take the vote of 4 councilors to suspend the hearing again. So right now, we will recess the public hearing on this matter until December 10th. Madam Clerk, next order of business.
Thank you all for coming tonight.
Next order of
We do appreciate it.
Next order of business is the update of the Downtown Development Commission and update of the Poet Laureate Selection Committee by City Council Representative, Councilor Melissa Cox.
Councilor Cox.
I went to the Council for Art, or the Committee for Arts meeting. They did not have enough for a quorum for further discussion on Poet Laureate. And there is a request from the administration to eliminate that from the city requirements in general. So we are unsure where this is going at this time. As for the DDC, we have not had a meeting in 5 months, so that I put a request in with the administration to dissolve that committee and to incorporate it into the tourism.
Thank you. Is that a, I'm sorry to ask this dumb question, but does the DDC exist by ordinance, or is that just a
No.
ad hoc committee?
It's just a committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Cox. Thank you for your attention to those 2 things. Madam Clerk, next order of business.
Is Councilor's request to the mayor.
Councilor's request to the mayor. We'll start with Councilor Hecht.
I'm good.
Councilor Gilman.
I'm good.
Councilor O'Hara.
Thank you. I'd like to just express an issue which came up Sunday. Sunday night, I was driving from Gloucester to Magnolia at approximately 6 o'clock. There was a large 2-foot pine tree that had fallen across Western Ave, blocking Western Ave in its entirety. The Gloucester Police was on duty. The state DPW was also at the scene. At the same time, Sunday was a heavy rain event. At the same time, the underpass at Magnolia Ave was underwater, was being blocked off by the DPW. Cars could not pass. What that meant is there was no access into Magnolia at that time. I approached the officer who was on duty in his cruiser, introduced myself to the officer. I'd already been on Magnolia Ave and found that underwater. At that point, everyone was doing their job, DPW and police. I found out in communications that limited communications between departments was in fact taking place. The fire department didn't know of that when I called the fire department. And everyone's doing a great job. Our first responders are doing a tremendous job, but I'm asking the administration to consider putting someone in charge or coming up with a system that they can communicate between all parties. That could have been a very serious event. As I went around from the Western Ave to Magnolia Ave, trying to get back to Magnolia, because at that point the only way to get to Magnolia would have been to get on 128 and go into Manchester and backtrack. But more importantly, if a rescue vehicle needed to get to a person with a medical issue, there was no means of getting to that person. I've also put in requests numerous times to ask the state to do a survey on all trees within their right-of-way, as well as the city. In March of 2018, on Route 125 in Andover, a pine tree of similar size did fall, but unlike in Gloucester, that tree just fell onto the asphalt. In Andover, that tree fell on a car, killing one person. There was a second person in the vehicle who was seriously injured. I'd hate to have had that tree fall on one of our loved ones. So I'm asking the state, the city, to look at our trees. We have many trees that are dead from gypsy moss and other diseases that are being left in the standing position that, as happened Sunday night, proven to be a huge hazard to the public. So I'm asking the city, state, and our administration to work on a plan on how to remediate our trees and to create a emergency or a department or person who can oversee or take control of all issues. I appreciate it. I first want to thank the DPW because they did a wonderful job that day with the water at Magnolia Ave and the following day as far as cleaning the problem. And the police and fire do a tremendous job just trying to help the situation so our public can be better saved by these people. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Holmgren.
I'd like to draw everyone's attention to the beautiful quilts hung at the stage, thanks to a massive amount of work by the director of the North Shore Health Project, Susan Coviello, the NAMES Project, which manages the thousands of AIDS quilts, soon to be in Atlanta, the Awesome Foundation, and the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence in Boston, and as well as to Mayor Taken and City Hall staff. City Hall is hosting the Cape Ann portions of the AIDS quilt from now until through the end of December. And the dedication ceremony for these beautiful pieces of art is this coming Sunday, December 1st, from 2 to 4 p.m. Please come as we share stories of our loved ones who died of this terrible disease and on World AIDS Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Memhard.
I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish all my fellow councilors and everyone here in the city of Gloucester a happy and safe Thanksgiving and safe travel.
Thank you. Councilor Nolan.
I want to thank the people of Magnolia for putting up with the construction. The project has come along well. The DPW, the administration, all the departments involved in this, Greenese's water work has been impeccable. They're cleaning up really well, and I thank everybody for their patience, but I think it's looking good.
Thank you, Councilor Cox.
I would also like to wish everybody a very nice Thanksgiving. Hopefully you can relax and enjoy the day. Just want to mention a few craft fairs that are going to be at our schools Friday, December 6th, West Parish from 6 to 9. Beeman is having an event Saturday the 7th from 9 to 12. And Middle Street Walk is going to be on the 14th. So I hope everybody comes down and enjoys that. I hope everybody also has a very safe ladies' night on December 5th. And we'll cover men's night at the next city council meeting. So, the 19th.
Thank you. Councilor LeBlanc.
Same here. Happy, Valentine's Day, I wish. Happy Turkey Day, everyone.
Now also we'll say happy Thanksgiving and motion to adjourn. Thank you. We're adjourned.